John Lovitz, I have to tell you, when I heard that clip, I thought to myself, that's the kind of thing without the F-bombs that you hear at any Tea Party rally. John Lovitz is not exactly a Tea Party guy.
No.
That was a little surprising to hear coming from you. Hit that on button right there. There you go.
Well, no, I've been a Democrat my whole life, and I voted for President Obama, you know. I also said right after that, which, you know, I said the best example of somebody who came from nothing and made it is the president himself, and I said he's amazing. And to me, what he's achieved in his life is amazing. From where he came from, he had, you know, no money, no father. He's of mixed race, which is a burden in the United States of America, let's be honest. And he overcame all that. He went to Harvard University, and he, you know, he's become president of the United States. And I felt that he's being hypocritical. And all I said was I pay my fair share now, which is, you know, between 35% federal tax, 11% state tax in California where I live, and FICA and all the other taxes. It's probably over 50%, and then you have deductions. That's all I said. And people, you know, some loved it, some hated it. I was just watching television. This was in January, and he kept saying they're not paying their fair share of taxes, the wealthy. And first it was like capital gains tax is only 15%. And I started learning more and more about it. Well, that's true. But the reason it's 15% is when it was higher, it created less tax revenue. And if you think about it, what happens is it's money you've already paid taxes on, and then you reinvest it in the stock market. And that's how companies raise capital, with stock. So then if they have more money, they can grow their business, they can hire more people, and then those people are paying income tax, and it creates more tax revenue because their business is growing. So that's why they have it at 15%. They found every time they lowered it, it created more tax revenue for the government. So for him to say, I want to raise it to 30% to be fair, I don't understand that, because I'm saying, but then you want all these social programs, and you're going to have less money for the social programs if you raise the capital gains tax. And you would think it would be the other way around. The higher it is, the more tax you have. But it turns out that's not true. So, and then he stopped saying that and just said, well, you know, people, they're only paying 15%. What about 30%? And I thought, all right, fine. You want me to pay 30%? You've just lowered my tax rate 5%. Federally. I'm just saying that you pay your fair share, and a lot of people were glad I said it. They thanked me. And I don't think it's because of me personally. It's just that I said something that apparently touched a nerve and everybody was thinking.
There is a fraternity of funny people from 1985 when you showed up on my radar screen with Saturday Night Live to the present. If you were to look at all the folks with whom you've interacted, so many movies, and the comedy community, the Hollywood community, I mean, in that community, you don't say, you violated a rule. You don't say publicly what you said publicly.
Why?
I don't know. You tell me. What's been the reaction? I mean, have you not
I
been
haven't
surprised?
had any backlash from anybody.
Really?
No. I told, I don't want to say who, but I told a friend of mine who happens to be a Republican, but he's one of the biggest producers, and I told him what I said, and he was just laughing. Well, because they know I'm a comic, I'm a comedian. I meant what I said, though. I'm not saying I didn't mean what I said. And when I said, you know, what a blankety blank, you know, I said it more for comic effect than anything. But I did feel that way. I felt like, hey, why are you throwing people under the bus that are successful? You're successful. What's wrong with that? And he'll say nothing's wrong with it. You know, I've seen him say speeches. He goes, I'm not against success. There's nothing wrong with it. But what he's inferring is there's a 1% versus the 99%. And there is no versus. There is no class warfare. There is no class structure. Yes, some people do better than others, but anybody that's broke can do well. Another great example, really one of the best examples, is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who came to this, he's not even American, he came to this country from Austria. He had nothing. And I'm friends with him, and you know, he's Republican and I'm Democrat, but I don't care. I'm not going to not be friends with somebody because of how they vote or what race they are or what religion. I'm friends with someone if they're nice and they have a good sense of humor.
But John Lovitz is our guest. You'd put 100 people in a room, randomly selected. Half of them would be Republicans, half of them would be Democrats. How can it be when you look at public statements made by people who are comedians, people who are actors, people who are artists, particularly at the top of their game, it seems that every single one of them is going to support Obama. That wouldn't happen in society. It strikes me that there is almost
But that's just
pressure.
a myth. That's not true at all. There's a lot of, you know, people in the industry that don't that are Republican, and I've heard people say, "Oh, I don't get a job because I'm Republican." I've never, ever, ever heard of anybody not getting a job because of how they vote. Some of the biggest producers, studio executives, are Republican.
But I'm talking about people like you that are out front, people that are funny. It's almost as
they
if,
don't
and maybe
care.
because
Look,
the audience
it's a
are
myth.
so young.
They don't care. Listen, you really think someone's going to say, "Well, if I put this guy starring in my movie, he'll make me $100 million. But because he votes Republican, I'm not going to put him in my movie"? It's completely false.
Okay, maybe, but have you not been surprised that you've been on O'Reilly, you've been on Hannity, you've been the toast of the conservative media? That has to be because you're a rare species.
That has surprised me, yes. That it went viral, yes. Because I thought, who cares what I think? It's not like I'm at the peak of my career right now. I mean, let's be honest. It started slowing down 15 years ago. That's why I started doing stand-up, because I had to figure out a different way of making a living, frankly. And I always wanted to be a stand-up. But the financial need forced me, and the fear of going broke again forced me to do something I always wanted to do. And I loved doing it. But I had to find another way of making a living, to be honest. And so, yes, it really did surprise me. Very much so, because I thought, who cares what I think? And, I realized it's not because I said it, it's what I said touched a nerve. But this whole view of people saying, "Oh, Hollywood is this and Hollywood is that." Listen, it's work. It's you're making a product, like you do a radio show, you make a movie, you make a television show. It's a lot of work, is really what it is.
It is. But John Lovitz is our guest. At the Improv tonight, 2 shows tonight?
Yeah, 2 shows tonight and 2 Saturday.
And then where?
And I mean, if you thought I was bad on my podcast, you should hear me in my stand-up show.
Okay, some people want to stalk
I
you.
say what I really think. I'm very honest, and that's where in a stand-up club you're very, very honest. Political correctness is the death of a stand-up comedian.
Oh, I agree with that, but it just seems to be there is a code. Let me make sure we get this out. You're at the Improv tonight and tomorrow night. If someone wants to stalk you, like they've watched every movie and they have to meet you and they want to bother you and irritate you at the worst possible time, was that late night pie at midnight? I mean, where is that? Can we get personal details, cell phone numbers? I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
I'm on Twitter, though, at @RealJohnLovitz. There's a picture of myself and Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens.
You love stand-up? You enjoy stand-up?
I love it. You get to write and perform your own material. And, when I got Saturday Night Live, I was 28. All I thought about was acting. I really didn't have a lot of opinions about what was going on in the world. I was just focused on trying to become as good as I could be as an actor so I could get work.
John Lovitz at the Improv. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow night. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you.